Greetings and salutations, Garcia. Welcome back to a how-to video. This one is how to make an in-text citation, and we're going to get a little help from the X-Men on this one. So, what is an in-text citation? I know this has been causing a lot of confusion. So, your in-text citation looks like this. It's got a parentheses, and then it's going to have the author's last name. So, let's just pretend that its author's last name is Velasco. And then it's going to have either the page or the paragraph number. That's just what it is. It's pretty short, it's pretty simple, it doesn't need to have a lot of information, but it does need to have a couple of things. Why do we use an in-text citation? Basically, in-text citation is information that tells your reader exactly what page or paragraph number has the information that you are using. But more than that, it's the information that tells your reader what source to look for in your works cited. You've got all the information in your works cited page. If you've watched that other movie, then you know that it's got all that information that will help somebody to find your source. But we're not sure, this quotation that you've used, we're not sure which source it came from your works cited. So you have to tell us, and that's why you give us the author's last name so we can find it in your works cited, and you tell us exactly where in that source we would be able to find it. So besides the author's last name, it's going to have the following things. It's going to have the page number or the paragraph number. We'll come back to that. When do you have to use an in-text citation? You need to use an in-text citation every single time that you use information from a source. Quotations, facts, opinions, arguments, it doesn't matter. If you didn't think it up in your brain, if you read it somewhere else, then you have to use an in-text citation. A lot of people are thinking that maybe you only use in-text citations when you quote things, but that's not true. You need to tell us where you got all of your information. It actually protects you. It makes you look smarter as well, because now we know that this is not something you've made up, but it's something you got from a source. What should be in your in-text citation? Now, I briefly alluded to this a minute ago, but let's go into this in a little bit more depth. It's the first word of your works cited entry. Why? Why is it the first word? Well, if it's not the first word, then I won't be able to find the actual source in your works cited page. So it tells the reader which source to look for in your works cited page, and they have to match. So if your first word is the author's last name, that's great. But it might not be. It might be the title. And we'd probably just do the first word of the title. Unless there are titles that are sources that have similar titles, and then you may need to do a little bit more. You do not need to put a lot of information. It's really just kind of like a quick, psst, go to this one in your works cited so that we know what's going on. The other thing that you have to have is you have to have the page number, in which case you do not use PG, you would just use 8, or the paragraph number, in which case you're going to say PAR.8. So if it's a web source, you're oftentimes going to have a paragraph number, and if it's a book, you'll have a page. Now, if you're looking at a source that does not have pages or paragraphs, like you're watching a movie, then you're just going to leave that part out. I should know from your works cited that it's a film that you're talking about. Alright, so now you know what an in-text citation needs to look like. You know that you always need to include one for all the information you're getting from your sources. Let's see how this looks in an actual text. So, we've got this paragraph here. Now, I know it's kind of long, but I want you to see that it's long because there's information in here that did not come from me. Uniforms rid school of distractions and aid students in their concentration. Schools all over have chosen to adopt the uniform policy because several incidents in school are a result of a student's attire. These incidents take away from students' learning time and leave them thinking of other things instead of focusing on school. Kids tend to pick on each other based on the type of clothing they wear, but with uniforms, the fact that a classmate does not have new Nike shoes or the shirt from Hollister no longer troubles children. I remember now that I did not get this from my own brain. This whole thing about Nike shoes and Hollister, I took that from a source. So I need to put a works cite or an in-text citation, so I'm going to put parentheses here. Now what goes in my parentheses? Well, I have to figure out what source that came from. So we're going to go to my Works Cited page here. And I think I remember that that was from this Duval source. So I am actually going to put the first word here in my in-text citation so that my reader knows where to go. And if I remember, this was from paragraph 5. Okay, so I've just given credit. That's all I need to do for the Works Cited page. Now, I do see, oh, that, you know what? That couldn't have been Duval because here's Duval down here. So I'm even wrong. And this provides a good point. You really need to keep track of this as you go because otherwise you're going to put the wrong source down and that is not a good idea. So it looks like this was from my other source, school uniforms. So I'm going to take this out and we're going to put school uniforms. And again, it's got to match the Works Cited. So I'm not going to put PBS because I'm not going to be able to find that. I'm not going to look in the middle of the sentence. I need to put school uniforms because that's the first thing here. Now you'll notice that if this is PBS, then this is a video. It does not have any paragraphs. So we're just going to leave it like that. Now this other quote down here, this is from Duval. So I'm going to do that, and I'm just going to put paragraph 5. And then we have given credit to our sources. And once again, they match our Works Cited entries completely. So if your reader is reading your paper, then they know exactly where you got this information. They know that it's reliable, and they know that you haven't plagiarized. So I think that is it for in-text citations. Tune in next time for icing sources.